3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Wednesday, 13th day of September, 2017. Hang on. Houston, we have a problem.
Hang on.
Huh.
Oh, we got good audio.
Nah, it's good. Yeah, no, I was just having an issue with the other computer. So, happy hump day, everyone. Depending upon your time zone, you are over the hump and on the downward slide into the weekend. If you're on the West Coast, you got a little while to go, but it'll be here soon enough. We're glad you have joined us today. If you're returning, welcome back. If you're here for the first time, a special welcome to you. We are in our second decade of broadcast history, so please pencil us in for the next decade, okay? Now, Apple had their big to-do yesterday, so we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's take a quick look at the numbers. Around the world, it has been so quiet in these markets. I want you to take a look at the Dow. This is the Dow on a 30-minute chart going all the way back to 6 o'clock last night when the markets reopened. I think that's what they call that's code blue or something. It's pretty incredible. This is almost almost as bad, but a little bit of movement there. All right, let's see what's going on in the rest of the world. Oh, if you can't see the chart, go to the home page at cfrn.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. You'll be registered through the end of the month. You only have to register once per month. Or you can come in the other door, youtube.com/CFRN/live. Chat box on both ends, so anything you want to share, thoughts, ideas, rants, raves, have at it. You have a global audience. The world is your stage. All right, we'll start with the numbers in the U.S. These are the cash markets. The Dow is currently up 4.5 points. NASDAQ is down a little over 6 points. S&P 500 is down about 1.5 points. And the Russell 2000 is up almost 4 points. No movers, no shakers, just quiet. In the commodity basket, crude oil is up 78 cents, trading 49.01 last. We had crude inventories today, and so crude is up a little over 1.5%. Gold, third day of the slide, down $6, almost half of 1%, trading 13.2670 last. And in the Asian markets, the Nikkei closed the session up 89 points, almost half 1%. Shanghai closed up a little over 6 points, and the Hang Seng down 78 points on the session. So Asia's mixed, the US is mixed. What about Europe? Same story. FTSE down 21 points. DAX closed down 29 points. And the CAC was down almost 9. So mixed and quiet in all the markets around the world. Now, I commented on this article last night on our Facebook crypto page, but JP Morgan
Alpha seems
Jamie
more elusive
Dimon,
today.
Now this is the man and the bank who have paid more billions of dollars in fines for fraud than I believe every other financial institution in history combined. You can check my math, but I think I'm right there. Also, he and his banking cartel, I believe, are responsible for the majority of the gold and silver manipulation, because I think he has a huge naked short position that he can't cover. And you know, he's in bed with the Treasury, he's in bed with Goldman Sachs, in bed with the Fed, in bed with the White House. I mean, this guy gets around. So he comes out with the statement last night: Bitcoin is a fraud that will eventually blow up. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Now, Bitcoin admits that it's backed by nothing. It's very transparent, and people have agreed on a rather lofty valuation for it at this point in time. Okay. Now, what about the US dollar? Once our dollar was tied to a physical asset, but that hasn't been the case for a very long time. It is a fiat currency. Jamie says it's worse than tulip bulbs. It won't end well. Someone is going to get killed. Now, I don't know if he got caught on the wrong side of this thing or what, but he's reminding me of Ackerman, who took this thing with Herbalife so personally. that it's cost him an awful lot of money. Bitcoin fell to trade around its session lows after Diamond's comments. Diamond's criticism comes at a time when some well-known figures on Wall Street are starting to embrace the cryptocurrency. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon took his best shot calling cryptocurrency a fraud. It's just not a real thing. Eventually it will be closed. Yeah, this is putting the hurt on him somehow. Dimon joked that even his daughter bought some Bitcoin, looking to cash in on a trend that has seen it soar more than 300% this year. I'm not saying go short Bitcoin and sell 100,000 of Bitcoin before it goes down, he said. This is not advice of what to do. My daughter bought Bitcoin, it went up, and now she thinks she's a genius. Oh, okay, so he's not only going to take a dig at Bitcoin, he's going to take a dig at his own daughter. Yeah, so now she thinks she's a genius. Well, he thinks pretty highly of himself as well. In an appearance at a separate conference earlier in the day, Dimon said Bitcoin mania is reminiscent of the tulip bulb craze in the 17th century. It's worse than tulip bulbs. It won't end well. Someone is going to get killed. Currencies have legal support. Do they have legal support, Jamie, or do they have legal manipulation? The Federal Reserve, which has nothing to do with our federal government. It is not a part of the government, and everyone who listens to this radio program already knows that. They print our money, LOL. They move decimal points on a computer, okay, and call that printing money, and then charge the American people interest to loan them this so-called money that was created by moving a couple of decimal points. Thomas Jefferson said, whatever you do, don't ever get a central bank. It'll destroy this nation. And the president who signed the Federal Reserve into being after the trip to Jekyll Island, he said on his deathbed and said, I have unwittingly destroyed my country. Now, some argue that he never really made that statement. Okay. Now, let's think about it. Tulip bulbs. I'm actually going to study up on that because I want to know how that mania began. I've heard about it, of course, all my life. What in the world were people thinking? I mean, with the internet, and you know, the dot-com bomb, I mean, it really was something new, something different. I mean, flour's been around an awful long time, but the internet was new and shiny, and everybody wanted a piece of it, and it blew up in our face. Okay. Well, to help get over that pain, we decided to blow up real estate. And by blow up real estate, what I mean is valuations on homes began to rise, and well, you know the gruesome story. And everyone's house became an ATM. And I think it was, if you could roll your house over at the rate we were increasing in 2005, if you could roll over your house, if you could roll over a house every 5 years, you know, each time moving to a bigger one, that at the end of 5 years you could sell out, retire, and go live someplace cheap. Yeah, that didn't work so well. Okay. Dimon also said he'd fire in a second any JP Morgan trader who was trading Bitcoin, noting two reasons: it's against our rules, and they are stupid. Yeah, he said these things out loud. Okay, now this is somebody, an important figure in our economy and society today. Sure seems to be taking this personally. Bitcoin fell to its session lows after Diamond's comments. As of 3:01 p.m. in New York, Bitcoin traded at $4,106.23, down 2%. Diamond's criticism comes at a time when some of the most well-known figures on Wall Street are starting to embrace the cryptocurrency. Fundstrat's Tom Lee said he sees Bitcoin surging to 6,000 next year, and value investor Bill Miller reportedly also owns Bitcoin. Even Diamond's own bank, JP Morgan, has reportedly begun a trial project using blockchain as it tries to cut trading costs. Blockchain is the technology behind Bitcoin. Now, you've heard me say this before. Bitcoin may go to the lofty valuation some people have given it, 50,000 a coin, 100,000 a coin over time, or it may go to zero. But the technology, the blockchain technology, that's here to stay. It's the future. The future is now, and you're at ground zero. Okay, so don't confuse the two. Bitcoin and blockchain technology are not the same thing. Blockchain technology is what allows Bitcoin to exist, as well as Ethereum, as well as the Christian Traders Global Coin, any alt currency. Okay? All right. Bitcoin's up 315% on the year. We know trees don't grow to the sky. To not anticipate some type of a retracement, even as much as 50%, would it would not be healthy to not have a sizable retracement at this early stage of the growth of this new thing. Okay. Now, I said the internet was new and shiny and people were attracted to it and did foolish things. But then I said flowers have been around forever. Well, I should have probably also said houses had been around forever. But up until the early 2000s, a home was simply a place where you created memories. I mean, it's the American dream to own a home, and that became realistic for many Americans after World War II. The American dream, own a home, picket fence, the whole nine. Cut the grass on Saturday. But then suddenly everyone saw real estate or homes as something very different. More than a place to create memories and build a life, but as a way to create wealth. The valuations, the shady mortgage deals, they all came together to create the perfect storm. Earlier on Tuesday, Diamond warned about further declines in trading revenue for the banking giant. Oh, okay. Diamond said third quarter trading revenue at his bank, where they use real money, not Bitcoin, will drop about 20% on a year-over-year basis. Diamond also said the bank may not give intra-quarter guidance in the future. Really, Jamie? Is it that bad? JP Morgan stock fell off its session highs on the comments, but remained up 1.4% on the day. This comes just a day after Citigroup CEO John Gerspach issued a similar warning. On Monday, Gerspach said Citi's trading revenue could fall 15%, citing low market volatility. Yeah, we know all about that. 2017 has been the calmest market in decades. The CBOE Volatility Index, widely considered the best gauge of fear in the market, hit its lowest level in more than 20 years earlier this year. The second quarter was also a weak one for JP Morgan's trading unit, as revenue fell 14% during the period on a year-over-year basis. Diamond will also be speaking spoke also last night at the Delivering Alpha conference in New York. And I don't have those comments, but I'm sure they were of the same vein. So we won't worry ourselves with those. When we come back, we'll go over the major cryptocurrency prices, Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe take a look at Ripple, and even Litecoin. Those are really the big four right now. Although there's, I think, close to 1,000 different altcoins out there at this point. We'll also talk about the new iPhone X, and one of the comments that came out of the big show yesterday, the really big show, I used the iPhone X once for a few minutes, and I can already tell it will be worth its $1,000 price. Now, I said this yesterday, the iPhone, I'm surprised they even call it a phone anymore. What it really is a supercomputer that you carry in your pocket. And oh, by the way, should you need to make one of those old-timey phone calls, it will do that as well. So anyway, we'll talk about what's so eye-popping about this $1,000 phone when we come back. Michael, if you're ready, we'll get a recap from you of the live training room today.
I am ready. And here you go.
Okay, I can see your screen, and I'll be here when you get back.
All right, very good.
Or I'll be here when you're done.
Okay, yeah, when I'm done, when I get back. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 13th day of September, 2017. Sorry, my mind just went to something else in September. Today is the 13th day, Wednesday, the 13th day of September, 2017. Now, if you've not taken a free trial with us, all you have to do to take a free trial is go here to the home page at cfrn.net. And up here at the very top, when you come to the home page at CFRN, at the top, there's going to be this banner that drops down that says sign up for the CFRN live training, 100% free trial. Use our indicators, learn our strategy. Click here. And when you click there, it will bring you to this page. On this page, all we ask you for is your email address, your first name, and how you found us. Okay. In the how you found us thing, be as specific as you can. You know, if you clicked on an ad in Google, say Google ad, or if you found us in a Google search, say Google search, then hit submit. Okay. And when you do that, you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link. Okay. If you don't click on that confirmation link, then we don't know that you took the trial. All right. It's called double opt-in, and so that we don't spam you. Make you commit twice by clicking to take the trial. Okay. All right. Now the recap. 2 days in a row, the last trade got us our goal. Today, again, is 9:13. We made 16 ticks in the euro and 1 tick in the Russell. Got us to $105 a contract. Yesterday it was 117 minutes. Today it was 115 minutes it took. Today it was 6 opportunities to get us to 105. And we had a total of 6 today. Okay, so on the month now we're at 1205. That's over 8 days, averaging 150 per day. On the year we're at 26,067. That's over 172 days, averaging 151 per day. 151 per day. Okay. Now, if you're going to read this again, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. I want to look at something here on Crude. Yeah. It should sell off of 49 here. But let's go back here. Okay, this is gold. Huh. We didn't take a single opportunity here on gold. We had one short right there, and then it was going down here and it was moving down, but the cycle wasn't right. And we got this huge move down, and this is the low of the day right here. Now, all these markets were playing with the highs and lows of the day all morning. You know, the euro and gold are both at the lows of the day. Crude was at the high of the day. This is the high of the day right here on crude, I think. 49.08 is the high of the day on crude. And on gold, the low of the day is down at 24.5. On the euro, we're at the low of the day right there. And on the Russell, I think the high of the day was up at 29.3. So right here is the high of the day on the Russell. But anyway, we didn't do a thing on gold today. That is really odd. Okay. And now let's see. On the euro, we started out on the euro right here. 5 ticks profit on that move. We had a break even right there. And 11 ticks right there. This is where we got the goal for the day, right at the end of the session this morning. Okay. And that was it for the euro. Wait, I didn't see what it did during the break. During the break, there was a long opportunity right there. And if you drew a trend line, there would have been a break even long right there. And now you can see it's putting in new lows. So it needs to pull back here. I should take the question box out. Okay, there are no questions at this time. Okay, crude oil. We were break even on the day on crude. We had a break even there, a break even there. We missed one there, a break even here. It looks like we missed a long opportunity right here on the crude. That would have been a break even probably. And another long opportunity right here. Might have gotten a couple of ticks out of. A shorting opportunity here. That would have been a break even. And that's it. Just very little opportunity today. Now the Russell, we got 1 tick profit right over here on the Russell. That was our one shot at the Russell. We missed a couple of spots here. There was one right here and right there and right there that we missed. During the break, things were pretty flat here. Going into the end of the morning session, everything was really flat. Then during the break, we needed to break this dynamic support, which we did right here. But then the cycle changed colors, so we would have had to close below the trend line. So if I drew a trend line, it looks like this would have been a short right here. That did not work out. Let me just draw a trend line. It's right on the corner there, so maybe not do anything there because it's not really doing. The markets aren't really trending, or they weren't really trending. Right now you got to bounce off the BBC, but the high of the day is right here. So it may be trying to get back up to the high of the day right there. I don't know. I would not go long on any of the indexes here because the ES is approaching the zone. The ES, as I said, did nothing for us today. It's got a range of 90.50 to 94.25. So it's got less than a 4-point range on the day. And there was nothing in the ES. This is the highest weekly trading zone right here. It's Wednesday. I would expect a big drop in the ES by the end of the week, but we'll see. We will see. Okay, so back here to the spreadsheet. Oh, there was one more thing I wanted to show you before I do the spreadsheet. Okay, yesterday when the API numbers came out, the crude was trading right in this area right here, and it had a spike up to here and a drop down to here. And then, I don't know why, but overnight, we had a big move up to this level. All right, and then the inventories came out today, at 10:30. The inventories came out, and I was anticipating it to get up to 49 and then sell off from 49 down to this level. Now this level right here, if I go to a higher time frame, this level right here, you see right here where it had resistance right there. See those 3 spikes right up to that exact level where it had resistance, and then once it broke through it, it just kept going. I was thinking up to 49 because it consolidated here at 49, and then it dropped all the way down here to 47. So what I'm thinking now is it's going to sell off of 49, probably, and it'll probably end up trading in this area right here, 48.25. It'll probably have a bounce when it gets down here to 48, 45, 48, 44. And if it gets through here, it'll probably get down here to 48 even. Okay, that's what I would look for on the crude. You know, if you're doing anything in a larger time frame, you know, if you're doing anything with options, I would say crude is ready to go down, maybe $2. Okay, so back to the spreadsheet. If the spreadsheet, I mean, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you can read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Okay, today is the 13th day of September, and 16 ticks on the euro, 1 tick on the Russell, $105 per contract. Okay, today it took 115 minutes to take 6 opportunities and to make 105. And we took a total of 6 today. So on the month now, we're up 1205. That's over 8 days, averaging 150 per day. On the year, we're at 26,067. That's over 172 days, averaging 151 per day. Okay, that is 1 contract, 2 hours per day. All right. Now, if you have not taken the free trial, go to our homepage here at CFRN.net. And up here at the very top, it says sign up for the CFRN Live Training Room, 100% free trial, user indicators, learn a strategy. Click here. When you click there, you'll be brought to this page. You just need to put in your email address, your first name, and how you found us. Then hit the submit button. Once you do that, you'll be sent the confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link. Okay, if you don't click the confirmation link, well, we don't know you took the trial. Okay? And that's it. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Oh well. Okay. And that's it. So with that, we can head back out to Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready.
You say that like you mean it.
Okay.
I said, you say that like you mean it.
I do. Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. I got it down now.
Well, guys, the interview we had yesterday with Ethan got me stirred again, because I was really excited about the ability for CFRN and Christian traders, for our community, to create our own cryptocurrency. But then as I got in and really started to look at it up close, I realized that I don't write code, and I'm not a programmer. But when I heard Ethan, when I just laid out the idea, because, you know, it was kind of like, you know, this is what I was going to do until I saw, you know, the difficulties and the blah, blah, blah. And I was really surprised by his comments, because he shared with me last night via email. He goes, I hope I didn't mislead anybody on the radio today. I go, what do you mean? He said, well, I'm not a believer. I said, well, that's okay. I said, God has a unique way, and has for many years, a unique way of putting people into my life, business associates, even friends, even neighbors who don't believe. And he doesn't put them in my path so that I can preach to them or convert them, but so that I can well, I think the way I ended the email was, I have preached around the world, but the greatest sermon I'll ever preach is how I live my life. And so that comes not from the pulpit, but from just everyday life. So don't worry, I won't be showing up at your door to hand out any pamphlets or trying to make you believe anything you don't want to believe, because I do want to hire him as a consultant. But to make a long story short, even though I don't know how to code, I taught myself enough yesterday to write the code, or to generate the code for our very own cryptocurrency. Now I have to deal with the legal aspect and determine if, you know, the proper path for us is an ICO. Is it crowdfunding? Do we simply get listed, once we're registered, do we get listed on an exchange and let nature take its course? These are the things that go beyond, you know, the slogan and the logo and all the lines of code behind it that allow the blockchain to work and to function. I built it off the Ethereum blockchain, not the Bitcoin blockchain, because I think over the long haul, and I've said this on the show for a long time, I think Ethereum offers something that Bitcoin does not offer. And so that's what I'm working on. And I'll keep you apprised as things go along, tell you what it all means. And I hope it will encourage you to dig a little deeper, you know, beneath the surface, and start to really understand what this is and what it means to our country, to the world in which we live. Again, like I said at the beginning of the show, Bitcoin could go to 50,000 tomorrow, or it could go to zero. Doesn't change a thing. Blockchain technology and the distributed ledger are here to stay. Smart contracts are here to stay. And this is, I think I wrote this on the Facebook page the other night. By the way, on Facebook, we're Daily Crypto Info. Very easy to find us. You go to Facebook and search Daily Crypto Info. And where we stand now with the development of blockchain, distributed ledger, it's kind of like comparing the abacus to a Cray supercomputer. Okay, we're still getting the beads on the abacus, on the little, you know, that's, I really believe that. So again, I'm not touting any one particular cryptocurrency. I'm not telling you you should buy any particular cryptocurrency. I'm telling you should do anything other than educate yourself. And that was the purpose of having Ethan here yesterday. At Block Geeks, you can take a course and learn about the technology. It doesn't steer you in the direction of buying any particular coin. And there's also a free trial. So, you know, for the cost of zero, you can educate yourself a little bit. So, with that said, Michael, are you still there?
I am.
What was the recap of the recap?
Today, am I looking at the right thing here? I don't think I am. Today it took, hang on, let me look at my spreadsheet. Today it took 115 minutes and 6 trade opportunities to get to $105 per contract. Did you write that down?
One more time.
115 minutes and 6 trades to get to 105
per contract.
per contract. Yeah.
So see, guys, we had a stretch, I don't know, a week or so ago where we got our goal for the day on the first trade. It happens.
First trade, 3 days in a row.
Yeah, 3 days in a row. Now, if you never get your goal on the first trade, then something's amiss, because you shouldn't expect to do it all the time, but it should happen occasionally, because this is a business based on probabilities. So the probabilities say that if you're doing everything properly, that there are going to be days when you do get it on the first trade. Just don't sit down expecting to get it on the first trade, because if you do, you'll find yourself disappointed. Okay? So let it come as a surprise. When you sit down each day, it's, I'm going to put on and take off trades until I reach my goal. If that happens at 9:45 a.m. Eastern or 3:45 a.m. Eastern, it's okay. It doesn't matter. I have 10 trades. I'm not going to squander them. I'm not going to shoot from the hip just because I have a bunch of trades to work with. I am going to wait for the high probability trade setup that I've been taught to watch for, and when it arrives, I am going to execute without fear, without hesitation, without second guessing. That's how you put the odds in your favor. Just like when you go to Vegas, and I really hate the gambling analogies, when you go into the casino, okay, number one, just the sheer fact that the building's so tall and so luxurious and has so many bright shiny lights, not to mention free cocktails, they got to be doing something right. What is it? I mean, they're just gamblers too, right? Not at all. No, they're not gamblers. They are businessmen and women who have to answer to their shareholders. And so the odds have to be in the favor of the house. Now, why Joe from Omaha repeatedly goes there and spends his hard-earned money on games of chance where he knows the odds are against him walking in the door, I'll never understand. I had two very good friends. They were both, well, I love them both, but they were both degenerate gamblers. They loved to go to the horse track. They loved to go to the dog track. And they were the two worst handicappers I ever met in my life. And it cost them everything. Okay? And that's how so many people approach trading. They won't take the time to learn how to put the odds in their favor. That's what we do every morning in the live training room. That's what we teach people in our mentoring program. We teach you how to stack the deck in your favor. Now, this means that you have to develop patience, discipline, and you have to learn to think in probabilities, okay? And you have to understand that each and every trade that you take is in no way connected to the previous trade or the next trade. Each one is an individual story that will unfold however it's going to unfold. All indicators may be pointing north, but the second you enter that trade, you hand over the keys to the outcome of that trade to every other trader on the planet. Main Street traders, hedge funds, banks, everybody, okay? Everybody else in the world can affect the outcome of your trade that you just entered. You can do nothing. Absolutely nothing. But sit there and wait for price to either reach your target or reach your stop. And if you're not trading with a hard stop, then you're just not trading. You're gambling. You don't have confidence in your methodology, and you do not have the odds in your favor. So you have to decide, who do you want to be? Joe from Omaha or the house? Now, does that mean the house wins every hand? Oh, no, of course not. If they stacked the odds that far in their favor, Joe probably would quit coming, okay? So they know they're not going to win every hand at the blackjack table. But over the larger sample size, they're going to win enough times that their shareholders are going to have a big smile. So anyway, that's just a little freebie there for you. Okay. Now, because, so good job, Michael.
Okay.
For having patience and discipline and thinking in probabilities. While you had a ton of people breathing down your neck and asking questions.
Yeah, it was good though this morning. We had some good questions.
Yeah,
I appreciate the questions.
Group. It really was.
I hope they come back tomorrow.
Yeah. Now, guys, I said we were going to talk about the new iPhone 10 and why this guy who was able to hold it for a few minutes yesterday said it's absolutely worth $1,000. But I invited Wayne to pop in early if he wanted to, because the markets, I mean, I already showed you. This is the S&P, okay? The patient is, they come in and check the pulse every few minutes. I mean, this is the Dow. Goodness gracious. I mean, going all the way back to 6:30 yesterday, we had a high on the Dow at 22,104, and overnight we put in a low at 22,054, 104, and 54. So basically a 50-point range, which on the S&P translates into about a 5-point range. Like I read earlier, earlier this year, we had the lowest volatility. The VIX was at the lowest we've seen in 20 years. Now that's the fear index, right? And when the fear index is that low, that means nobody's afraid. My goodness, take a look around. Shouldn't everyone be very, very afraid? But they're not, because they have Jamie Dimon to lead them. So we're going to talk to Wayne, see what he's got on his mind, what he would like to chat about today.
Good morning.
Good morning, Wayne. Welcome to the show. And when we finish chatting with Wayne, then we'll go take a look at this iPhone X for extravagant and see what makes the 10th anniversary $1,000 phone. And the analysts are saying that because this phone's $1,000, it could make Apple the first $1 trillion publicly traded company. So anyway, for those who don't know, Wayne Jett joins us each and every Wednesday. He was a practicing attorney for many years. He's also an author. He wrote the book, The Fruits of Graft, Great Depressions, Then and Now. You can visit his website, classicalcapital.com, and you'll find on his site not only an opportunity to pick up a copy of that book, which is a little over 500 pages and about 6 years of his life, but there are also a lot of essays that he has written on the site. So be sure and check that out, classicalcapital.com. So Wayne, tell me, what's on your mind today, sir?
Well, we could talk about a number of different things, but I thought I might bring up a piece that I put on my website this week. And it is for those who have kept up with discussions that we've had previously about the causes of the Great Depression being something other than cycles or just the way people are, and they're always doing these crazy things to cause disruptions of that nature. Those who've listened to us before, I think, will be familiar with what I discovered in research and reported in my book, that there were a series of actions that largely were done in secret. They were semi-secret because of the way government operates, you have to, sometimes they get disclosed and you have to come up with excuses or reasons for why you're doing this sort of thing and give it some attention in the press, but you really don't tell the whole story.
The title of this article, I've got it up on the screen for folks to see. The Red Symphony teaches about 1929 crash, Great Depression, and now. The Red Symphony, is that something I should have heard of before? Should I be familiar with that?
Well, you probably wouldn't be, because it is in that name, it is a small, it's actually published as a chapter of a much larger book. It was originally published in Spanish, and I'll tell you why that occurred. The Red Symphony refers to the report of a transcript of an interrogation conducted at Lubyanka Prison in 1938. Lubyanka Prison is the prison that is underground beneath the headquarters of the NKVD, which was Stalin's secret police.
Okay.
Now, in 1938, there was a major purge ongoing in the Soviet Union under Stalin. The reason for the purge was that there had been an attempted coup, certainly a plan for a coup underway to take out Stalin, and the leader of the coup, or the one who was intended to be installed in his place, at least, was Leon Trotsky. As a result, there were large numbers, it was discovered by Stalin, and a large number of people were imprisoned and disposed of in various ways, according, at least generally speaking, according to their involvements. And the Red Symphony refers to one particular witness, one particular person, and he appears to be significant because he was a member of the upper level government operatives who had served Stalin in the past years. He was a man by the name of C.G. Radovsky, and he had been ambassador to France for a number of years for the Soviet Union, representing Stalin's government. He was arrested upon suspicion of being a supporter of the Trotsky coup, and he was imprisoned. He was given a show trial, found guilty, and sentenced to death, which was the approach taken with a substantial number of people. It wasn't peculiar or unusual as to him, but he was then, as usual, interrogated to obtain whatever information could be obtained from him before he was to be executed. And in order to do that, the arrangement was, or the way it occurred in this case, is that another man by the name of J. Landowski was also involved, because he was a physician. He was Polish in extraction, but he was Russianized, and he was very knowledgeable in the use of chemicals to encourage or enhance the willingness of witnesses to testify truthfully in these high-pressure situations. He did not want to be in these things. He was basically commandeered by the Stalin government. And he was very reluctant, did not wish to do this particular interrogation, but he was assigned.
So is he like the torture guy?
He was not the torture guy, no.
Okay.
He was assigned the responsibility of surreptitiously administering the medications that would enhance the interrogation.
Okay, gotcha.
But to make sure, I mean, you had to do that in such a way that it did not put the person to sleep or inhibit the acuity of their minds and their memories, that sort of thing. He had to know exactly what he was doing, but he was also responsible not only for doing that, but he was assigned the responsibility. He was the only one in the room other than the witness and the interrogator who was in KVD. And he was responsible for recording the interrogation, the questions and the answers, every word, and making 2 transcripts, one for Stalin and one for the NKVD commander. In this particular case, he made a 3rd copy. Undoubtedly, he would have risked that for one reason, because he understood the significance of what was said and discussed. He made the 3rd copy and succeeded in keeping it secret. It was found on his body in the city of Petrograd, also known as Leningrad, during World War II. It was found on his body by a Spanish soldier. Well, actually, he was a fighter on the side of the Soviet Union. He was Spanish, a volunteer from Spain, who was there assisting the fight against the Germans. After the war, or at least after he found it, he made his way back to Spain, and this transcript was published as a chapter of a major book by a respected publisher in Spain. And it was available for a number of years. It finally came to the attention of a former, well, a Russian expatriate. And that Russian expatriate was the son of an admiral in the Navy for the Tsar during World War I. And the son of the admiral, during or after World War I, particularly after the assassination of the Tsar, made his way to the United States. And eventually he got to the point of learning about this chapter in the Spanish book. Well, he happened to be, of course, Russian, very fluent in Russian, but he could also speak Spanish, and he took it upon himself to translate that publication of the Red Symphony into English. And I happened to be given a copy of it, a softback form that was sort of 8.5 by 11. You know, it's not a very long. It's like one chapter, but it is extremely interesting and very intricate. It is one of the most amazing documents I have ever read. And it was so because of the details contained in it, the ins and outs about how it came to be that Landowski was the translator and assigned to this, and how he got it out and so forth and so on, and his attempts to avoid that. But it is most amazing in the depth of information in the questioning, both from the interrogator, but also, more importantly, from Radovsky, the witness, the former ambassador to France. He essentially admitted that he was a member of the ruling elite. Well, he, not as a member, he was an operative. That's the more correct way of saying it. He was a relatively high-level operative of the ruling elite, but he certainly made clear that he was not a member. He was not one of the deciders. In fact, he said that that was a very limited group, but he didn't have a lot of detail about who was in it or how they operated. He basically explained that all he could do is pass along communications or information that he thought was important, and ordinarily he would not get back anything from having done so. On occasion he would be instructed in a certain way as to what he was to do, but any proposals or ideas that he had, the normal experience would be that he would not hear anything back at all, and neither would anyone else in a similar position. They would simply have to watch for events to see whether the deciders of the ruling elite, the ones he called them, whether they accepted his recommendations and acted upon them, or what. But in that circumstance, he made a number of admissions relating actions that he had taken, and essentially, I think substantially admitted that he was a supporter of Trotsky. He told about how Trotsky, even though he was a very young person at the time of the October 1917 coup, in which the Bolsheviks took over the control of Russia. Mm-hmm. He told that that was arranged as a, in fact, he said that he assisted in putting money into that operation by assisting the transfer of funds from the Western financiers of the coup through a Swedish bank. He transferred some money into Russia in order to assist the Bolsheviks, and essentially that money came from financiers in the West, including New York financiers. He related, for example, that the Rothschilds in Europe had been probably the organizers, but formally they were the treasurers of the first secret organization called the Comintern. In other words, the Communist International. The first cell of the Communist International was organized and largely operated by the Rothschilds as the treasurer. And the operation of that Communist International cell, he said, was really the source of the funds that enabled the Rothschilds to establish themselves as the major bankers in a number of countries of Europe. So it was interesting, of course, and important that that was the source of the additional financing they got in order to become richer and more powerful. But he went ahead with his discussions, and in the course of this examination, which took place over several days, he related several different things that I think are very significant in understanding history, including U.S. history. Number one, for example, they, in other words, the secret ruling elite, had accomplished during World War I organized defeats of Russian forces. In other words, they were saboteurs and caused the defeat of Russia in battles that they should have won and ordinarily would have won, particularly right toward the end of the war as they were invading into Germany. And yet they lost those battles, and the losses of those battles were used as the basis for inspiring political activity against the Tsar, blaming him for it so that they could overthrow him. They then overthrew the Tsar with the help of Alexander Kerensky, who was head of at that time there was a parliament in Russia that the Tsar had permitted to take part in the rule of the country, and Kerensky was its elected head official. But he conspired with the ruling elite to hand over power not to the people, but to the Trotsky-led Bolsheviks. And that Trotsky, he said, was a part of the ruling elite. That is, he had become connected with the ruling elite by his marriage into the family of a member of the ruling elite, one of them.
Okay.
So in that circumstance, there's our connection that essentially the overthrow of the Tsar was done from outside and by the major international bankers of the world, including those in New York. He said also, this is Rudovsky, that New York financiers are revolutionaries, objectively and subjectively, quite consciously. And these people, the bankers, have the impulse towards full power, such power as Stalin has in the USSR, but worldwide absolute power. That's what the New York financiers, he said, are after. Now, notice that I think you may recall that I've described previously in our discussions the views of and comments of H.G. Wells relating particularly to Franklin Roosevelt and Eleanor Roosevelt and his the Roosevelt Brain Trust. H.G. Wells had used practically the same words here that this Rudovsky used, the impulse towards full power. What H.G. Wells had said about Roosevelt's Brain Trust is these are the kinds of men who are capable of taking full power, that they are the men of the new republic, that at the time our shadow government has weakened so much, the elected government, that it will crumble and fall into their arms and they will then take full power. So we're getting, in 1938, in the Lubyanka prison were getting the same words expressed by a member of the, at least an operative of the ruling elite, the same words that were being used by H.G. Wells back in the White House of Theodore Roosevelt, and then 30 years later in the White House of Franklin Roosevelt, all very much connected with the kind of mindset that was going on in terms of taking control of global power in the world. Now, here's another thing that he said, and it's important to get your head around this one.
Okay.
He said that October 24th, 1929, October 24th, 1929, the first day of the Great Crash, was the beginning of the, quote, real revolution, end quote, and more important than the seizure of power by the Bolsheviks in October of 1917. You got me on that one?
Yeah.
Did that get through?
Yeah.
He's saying that the Great Crash was a more significant act, substantially more significant, in the so-called real revolution, that is the taking of global power, than even the seizure of power by the Bolsheviks in the Russian overthrow of the Tsar in October 1917. So we're talking in 1938, a man connected with the ruling elite says that the first day of the Great Crash was really the beginning of the revolution. In other words, it was a pre-planned, pre-organized action, and it was intended to be a revolutionary act. What would that be? It would be an act to crush the middle class, exactly as H.G. Wells had said had to be done in order for the ruling elite to go back to the two-class system. So the crash and the Great Depression, therefore, were really the actions of this ruling elite intending to conduct a revolution to destroy the middle class. We have, therefore, another confirmation, not just of all the evidence I've presented to your audience in the past, about the acts that I found of what was done over here, but from around the world, a man under sentence of death is relating the truth as best he can in order to possibly spare his life. So there we are. Not only the Great Crash, obviously that was only the beginning. He did say, for example, in addition, relating to the Great Crash being the first act of the real revolution, more important act at least, he said that Hitler produced prosperity in Germany by issuing currency directly from the government. No central bank privately owned by the ruling elite like over here. And the fact that Hitler did this was seen by them, the ruling elite, as, quote, a hidden danger, very dangerous, very serious in its implications for their control of other nations. And so, in effect, Hitler had to be destroyed too. And he said that Hoover's term as president was used to prepare for seizing power in the U.S. by financial revolution. And in the USSR, they were going to seize power in the USSR. In other words, Stalin's already there, but they're going to seize power from Stalin, remove him and put Trotsky in by having Stalin defeated through war. And the way they were going to do the war against Stalin, with Germany. by using Hitler to do that invasion. Everyone is puzzled so much about why in the world would Hitler do something as stupid while he was in the process of defeating France, taking Western Europe, and was in the process of the Battle of Britain to finally squash them. And what does he do? He invades Russia, of all things, inviting, in effect, the fate that befell Napoleon twice, and so forth. But nevertheless, it was the objective of the ruling elite, and it was the ruling elite that was controlling Hitler as well. Now, we have there essentially the items related by Rakovsky that make both the Great Crash, the Depression itself, and World War II all as planned events by the ruling elite. All directed towards taking full power and, most importantly, crushing and destroying the middle class, particularly as it existed in the United States.
How did, the thing that speaking of Hitler, how does someone who, comes from a background of basically being a nobody, he was a common criminal, he was in jail, he wrote Mein Kampf when he was in jail, how did he come out of jail, just kind of a short guy, not particularly good looking, where does he get the, I'm trying to think of the term.
You're talking about Hitler.
Yeah, to get to convince, God, what is the term I'm trying to think of? So charismatic that, he can convince an entire nation to follow him.
We certainly have important evidence from what I've just related and what is in the Red Symphony that Hitler was an operative of the ruling elite. And how would that be? There are reports that I think deserve serious consideration, if not full weight, that he in fact was the illegitimate son of a Rothschild.
Oh, really? Now, that's something I haven't heard.
Oh, yes. There's plenty of discussion and reports and evidence of that. In addition to that, apart from this thing of him being a corporal in World War I and being in prison and so forth and so on, he spent a considerable amount of time in Great Britain and in the close company of those around the royals in the leadership. This was before, of course, he went back to Germany and was able to take control. So these are not the kinds of things that just happen incidentally. There are reports that he at all times was an operative, in many respects much in cahoots with the rulers of Great Britain, the royal family and so forth, who were, of course, German. They just changed their name to make it sound more British. And so there we are. There are more things, important things, said in the Red Symphony in this transcript, reported by Mr. Murkowski about Franklin Roosevelt and about what role he played. And those are included in my book as well. But I will just wind up by saying that this is another level of evidence that I wind up concluding, together with all of the evidence, is proof beyond a reasonable doubt that the Great Depression was a famine, a cataclysm in the United States, purposely, by premeditation, and with the direct assistance of major political figures, certainly including Franklin Roosevelt. That it was preconceived specifically for the purpose of attacking and doing as much destruction to the middle class, both in reducing it through throwing people into complete poverty, but also in bringing as many lives as possible to their end through starvation and otherwise during the time that it was underway and before it moved on to the next phase. They had consolidated a great deal more of the ownership of assets in the United States into the ruling elite's hands, taking prosperity away from a great portion of the middle class. And all of this is within the same realm of understanding, I guess I can put it that way, that there is, as Henry George wrote in 1880, this powerful pecuniary force. Pecuniary meaning the intention to acquire as much wealth and as much power as possible, wanting to own things and keep them from others. All of this, as Henry George said, there's this pecuniary force that is so powerful in the world that it acts laws and it molds thoughts of people all over the world and keeps them from finding answers to what it is that really is disrupting their prosperity, that is keeping them from succeeding, that is barring them from the kind of success that is possible if they don't have opposition. And yet we've been taught, certainly from my youth and throughout our history, that opportunity here is full and complete, that there's no interference. Anybody can achieve everything that they are capable of doing, when unfortunately, in fact, we have this powerful force that is at every point in our lives is doing as much as it can to reduce our success and to completely inhibit it if at all possible. That's the sense that we have presently in our government, with this ruling elite attempting to overturn the elected president, and some people even giving up to the point of saying that secretly he is one of them, and therefore we have to give up on him. That's the kind of thing that has brought us to the precipice of having a completely failed currency, a currency that has been used to rob the value of all of the work and labor and productivity that Americans have produced for years through the theft of inflation, term that is hard to understand, but it basically is stealing the value out of the dollars that you've earned and saved so that they're worth less and less every day.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, as they become worthless, their efforts will have succeeded once again, as they have in every other currency, every other country that has used these paper currencies. They always are able to steal the full value of all of that work and labor. Yes, we've had some enjoyment of it in the meantime, but it winds up making everybody broke. And that's a big step toward making sure there's no middle class. You can be sure. Okay. I didn't mean to talk so much, but
no, that's okay. That's quite fascinating. It really is. So much else going on in the world. I'll tell you, from the weather to the fires to...
Yes. The weather is controlled by geoengineering.
Yeah.
Hurricane.
If I had the power, I gotta say, if I had the power to control the weather, rather than using that power to destroy people, I would get my jollies a lot quicker by turning that monster around and sending it packing in the other direction. But
well, you probably wouldn't have created it in the first place. It's not a monster that nature created. It was a monster that was created by the technology of geoengineering. They're fully capable of doing that. They've done it many times before. They can create floods, droughts. They can create earthquakes. Certainly, with the types of things they are able to join with and other technology, they can create tidal waves and so forth and so on. They created the attack, as the Asians call it, on Fukushima, that destroyed those nuclear power plants and have made them such a terrible danger to the world. They still are. So, yes, you would do something different. But those who are in the ruling elite have practiced for many, many, many generations a type of the training of their new leadership from their children, the inbreeding of their family bloodlines, as combined with Satanism, not just in beliefs but in practices. And that is, best evidence is that is very much still alive and active in the world today, and including the United States.
John, did I hear you in the background? I thought let me look here. I know he was planning to join us. No, I don't see him. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I just thought
No problem. Well, I think I've mentioned to you that I've had a series of interviews given to a channel on YouTube.
Yeah.
On these topics.
I'll show everybody. It's on the homepage of your website. Sarah Westall interview. Guys, you can go to the homepage at classicalcapital.com and you can... There's part 1 through 6. There's the Elitist Manifesto and the Red Symphony.
Right. Thank you for doing that.
Click and go. Yep, that's right. Just go to classicalcapital.com and that'll link you up to all of those. Well, Wayne, thank you so much for coming and visiting with us today. We always appreciate it, enjoy it. And
thank you, Dwayne.
Hope you have a great week, and we look forward to talking to you next Wednesday.
All right, you too. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. Okay. All right, we're going to find out what the heck is so wonderful about this phone that it's worth $1,000. I'm really quite curious. The new iPhone X will start. Okay, this is like, this is the model with no air conditioning and no power windows or door locks. The new iPhone X will start at an eye-popping $999 when it goes on sale November 3rd. Take some time and absorb the sticker shock. The iPhone may be celebrating its 10th anniversary, but it's bucking the notion that technology gets cheaper over time. Even the iPhone 8 and the larger 8 Plus are more expensive than their predecessors at $699 and $799. So, is the iPhone X, and by the way, the X doesn't stand for 10-year anniversary, it stands for extravagant. Is it worth $1,000? Now, the gentleman who had a chance to hold and use the phone yesterday says, before I answer that, here's my general philosophy when buying a smartphone. You should always get the very best phone you can afford. Your phone is the only thing you use all day, every day, and it's one of the few things in life where you shouldn't be thrifty. It's like I said earlier. Basically, it's a supercomputer in your pocket, or for ladies in their purse, and oh, by the way, you can also use it to make one of those old-fashioned phone calls if you should find the need to. But everything from running spreadsheets to using apps to talk to people around the world for free. I mean, there's more in the iPhone 5, more computer technology in the iPhone 5 than on the first spaceship that went to the moon. Google it. True story. That's if you believe they went to the moon. I know there's a whole conspiracy theory that they really didn't, but anyway. So, with that in mind, I'm not immediately turned off by the iPhone X's price. Instead, the phone X looks as if it will compare favorably with other similarly expensive but top-of-the-line phones, particularly with Samsung's excellent Galaxy Note 8, which starts at $930. While I won't be able to get a full look at the iPhone X until closer to its launch date, I did get to spend some time with it during Apple's launch event Tuesday. It's an impressive device. Its most important features are greatly improved compared with those on past iPhones. And when you add all those features up, $999 seems like a reasonable price to pay. The iPhone X's most notable difference is the screen. With the new phone, Apple has adopted the broader industry trend of minimizing the borders around the phone's display so you get a bigger screen that takes up nearly all of the device's front. The iPhone X is only slightly bigger than the iPhone 7, but its screen is larger than that of the jumbo-sized iPhone 7 Plus. But the iPhone X's display isn't just big, it's stunning to look at. The screen quality rivals the displays I've seen on recent Samsung phones. In fact, the iPhone X is the first non-Samsung phone I've seen in years whose screen made me say, wow. And the way the screen fits into the iPhone X's design is great too. That giant display makes it feel as if movies and games and web pages are floating in your hand. And the phone's glass back is a welcome change from the scratch-prone aluminum that Apple has been using for the past few years. Plus, the stainless steel frame around the glass adds a nice premium sheen to the phone. All said, it's gorgeous. But the phone has other premium features, including wireless charging. How do they do that? An improved dual lens, and if you get between your phone and the charger, will you be shocked? No. An improved dual lens camera system that takes impressive portrait photos, a processor that Apple says is its fastest ever, Water resistant. Who hasn't dropped their iPhone in the toilet at some point? You got to put it in the lady's stocking and then in the bag of rice, and then hope for a couple of days that it's going to boot up. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes it boots up but doesn't play sound anymore or has some other little quirk. Water resistance. Doesn't say water resistant, but that it has water resistance. Improved battery life that the company says best that of the iPhone 7 by 2 hours. Apple took all the stuff you care about and used the most and made it better. In terms of features, Face ID, the new facial recognition feature on the iPhone X, seems to be the only wild card. I wasn't able to test Face ID on Tuesday, but Apple flubbed its first demo of the technology, which may not be a good sign. Face ID will have to perform just as well as if not better than, the fingerprint sensor it's replacing, or Apple will have problems. We'll see how it does in the real world. I got to be honest with you, the fingerprint sensor on my phone, I don't even know what number this one is. Maybe it's a 7. I don't know. But I have, if I don't get my thumb just right, or maybe I've just washed my hands and my hands are just a little damp, but I always have to tap it in the best of conditions. It takes me 2 fingerprint taps to get into the phone, which I'm not so crazy about. So we'll see. I won't be rushing out to buy one of these, by the way. So the iPhone X has one more big thing going for it. Apple's ace in the hole, iOS. iOS remains the best smartphone operating system and the iPhone's biggest advantage over its competition. Apple's operating system is the only smartphone platform that comes with consistent, guaranteed updates, and it's the only one that routinely brings cutting-edge features like augmented reality to older phones. Even if you get one of the older and cheaper iPhone models, you're still getting a lot of value out of your purchase simply because of iOS. So let's add all that up. The iPhone X offers a gorgeous screen and beautiful design, great cameras, wireless charging, better battery life, and water resistance. The best mobile operating system, all on a device that you'll end up using several hours a day. I don't know anybody that only spends 2 hours a day on their smartphone. If you're not looking at it, you're listening to it, I mean, or writing on it, I mean, come on. It's when you go to parties, family gatherings, all you ever see is the top of people's head. Carson, you must be reading a promo ad for this phone. No, as I said at the beginning, I'm reading an article that a gentleman wrote yesterday. Justin Sullivan. No, Justin didn't write it. Who did write it? When they had the big Stephen Kovac, when they had the big shindig out in Cupertino yesterday and introduced all of the new phones, and I think they introduced a watch too. This gentleman had an opportunity to hold the phone, use the phone, spend some time with the phone. He does not work for Apple. He actually works for Business Insider. So he's just saying that he, you know, he's an Apple fanboy and he fell in love with it. So it'll be a long time before I spend $1,000 on a phone, as long as the one I've got. I mean, it does absolutely everything I need it to do. I can watch TV, I can watch movies, I can make phone calls, I can send text messages, I can write emails, I can write novels, I can record interviews. I mean, there isn't anything that I want or need to do that it can't do. I wish Siri was a little more intelligent. I wish Siri could carry on a connected conversation. I wish you could ask Siri a question and get an answer other than, this is what I found on the web for. Well, gee, Siri, I mean, I can open Google and touch the microphone and speak into it and find it myself. Or I can use the other Google app thing and just say, hey Google, and find it myself. So I find Siri to be pretty much of no value. None. Now, we shared an article the other day where some people said that they thought Siri was smarter than Alexa, but most people will say that Alexa is much smarter. I'm not familiar with Bixby, and although I have Cortana on one of my computers, desktop computers, I've never actually used it. So I don't know what level of intelligence she has, but I have heard that Jeff Bezos is going to put Cortana on the Echo along with Alexa. He says that they are both specialists in different areas, and so why can't people have the best of both worlds? And interestingly, Microsoft has agreed to go along with this. Speaking of Amazon, Whole Foods customers are starting to complain that the Whole Foods they fell in love with, you know, the hippie kind of laid back place where they didn't sell foods and products like Cheetos and other things that just obviously are really not very good for you. They've changed the signage. It's just a different feel. The culture is no longer Whole Foods. The culture feels more like Amazon, and probably the biggest standout in the whole deal is that you can buy the Echo in a Whole Foods. I'm pretty sure that would be the first electronic device ever sold in a Whole Foods store. But that's because Jeff wants you to take that Echo home, set it up on the counter, and every time you think of something that you need, you just say, hey Alexa. She goes, yes. Remind me when I go to Whole Foods to get some more peanut butter. I sure will. And she will. And she will. So, anyway. Oh, what else we got in news today? Let's see if there's anything worth talking about. There's really nothing worth talking about in the markets. They're just asleep. Still just inside of that little 1 point range there. Let's see. Come on. Gonna load or not? There we go. Yeah, Apple did come out with a Apple Watch that doesn't need your phone to receive calls. Wow, that's kind of neat. I wonder if you have to have a separate service plan for the watch, or if your watch and phone can share the same service plan. Amazon has denied that Boston is a front runner for its new headquarters. The company wants a new head office in the U.S., and Bloomberg claimed that Boston has taken the lead in Amazon search. Boy, they are getting courted by every major city in the country. They're getting offered tax breaks, like, because I mean they'll come in, they'll create jobs. YouTube's biggest star, PewDiePie, has officially apologized for using the N-word. In his apology video, he said, "I'm just an idiot." And if you've ever watched a PewDiePie video, you will agree with that. Yelp has sent a letter to the U.S. Federal Trade Commission claiming that Google was breaking the terms of a settlement by using images from Yelp in search results. It's the latest development in a long-running saga. You may have heard of Slack. It's just another messaging system, but this one is designed for work chat. Work chat service Slack announced several new milestones. The company said it now has over 9 million weekly active users and annual recurring revenue of $200 million. Gmail, or actually Google, bit the dust earlier today. Gmail and other popular Google services experienced a partial service outage at a very bad time. Yesterday, the problems came as people prepared to tune into the Apple keynote address. And last, Nintendo's bringing back its outrageously popular $60 console in 2018. The NES Classic Edition console was discontinued earlier this year, and the world freaked out, and they said, calm down, we'll bring it back. Okay. On the trade alerts last night, it was a pretty dismal night overall. On the S&P, we wanted to buy 24.98 if we got up there. Didn't happen. We wanted to sell 24.91 if we got down there. And it looks like we actually put in a swing low right off the London Open. Got in a swing low at 24.89. $24.89. Okay, so I guess that's not so bad. We said to consider selling 91, and we put in a low at 89. Yeah, so it's a 2-point move. But important prices, important areas are almost always tested, so let's see, 24.91. There it is, 24.91. So we get down to 89. Okay, that's 2 points. We get back above the trigger, back and forth, and then we get down to 24.89 1/4. So 1 3/4 points. I mean, that's just how sleepy it was. On the Dow, we're looking to be buyers at 22.120. Did not happen. And sellers, we were looking at 22.055. And it looks like the swing low here was 5.4. So, yeah. Soybeans. The WASDE report really tanked the markets yesterday. Last night on beans, we said to consider buying 9.54, and that was actually a trade worth being in. Triggered 30 minutes into the London, or an hour into the London Open. What was that? 9.54. I'll drag out the email and let you guys take a screenshot here in a minute. 9.54. And the first swing high got up to 57.25. So that's 3.25 times $50 per point, just like the S&P. And then important prices, important areas, almost always tested, back below the trigger, swing high, 959.50. So 5.5 points. So a good session for the beans. We never get out at the swing high or swing low because we trail our stop. Now let me drag over that chart right now, or that email, so you can take a screenshot. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Got them out at 8:15 Eastern last night. Okay. Bonds, I think we're pretty sleepy. We were looking to sell 154.31. And that's right where we're sitting right now. Yep. And the swing high, 155.18, and that's where we were looking to trigger long. So trap between the long and the short signal right there. And I don't think it gets any better. We really need these markets to wake up. So 2030, that's that candle right there. Okay. So on the sell side for the NQ, 59.88, way down here. 59.88 took us down to 59.8350, so 4.5 points, $20 per point. Nothing to get excited about there. And we want to be buyers at 60.10, and that never came to pass. Okay. In Q, the Russell caught a little bit of a rally. We were looking to be buyers at 14.26, which just happened mere moments ago. And we put in a high at 29.30. Yeah, 29.30. So it would have been 330 back in the day. So call it $150 per contract available. You know, gold, unfortunately, had a pretty good move to the downside. So we were looking to sell gold at 13.33. And these are this week's zones. We've got the way this thing came through here and pulled back to confirm this as good support. Now it's confirming it as good resistance. By the time we talk tomorrow, we should see this lowest weekly zone at 2021. Okay. So 13.33. Swing low. Too many threes. $24.50, so it is rounded up to 25. So that's $800 per contract available. Again, we trail our stop, so when this thing started to pull back up to the zone, unless you were clever enough to keep your stop above the zone, on this pullback. You know, anytime we have $1,000 per contract in one instrument in one day, we take the money and put the mouse away. 800's not 1,000, but it's not too shabby. Okay, but I think that covers them all. Did the bonds, did the gold. Oh, we didn't do the crude. The crude. Okay. On crude, we were looking to buy 48.55, which came in right here. 1 hour after the London Open, it looks like. Okay, buy 48.55. And the swing high, 49.37. So that's basically $800 per contract available. Now, part of that was crude inventories today, and our rule of thumb is to always go flat ahead of the inventories. Now, the inventories came out at 10:30 Eastern. 10:30 Eastern is right here. This little doji. I remember on crude days, you know, we used to really see some spikes. Same with Fed days. So if you got in at 55 and you obey the rules and get out before the news, the swing high before the news was $48.86. So that's about $300 per contract. Okay, yesterday we started part 1, Understanding God's Will. Today part 2, Psalm 143 says, teach me to do your will. As you look back on your life, the thing that will bring you the greatest joy is knowing you've done the will of God. But in order for that to happen, you must really want to do God's will. Jesus said, if anyone is willing to do his will, he will know of the teaching, whether it is God or whether I speak from myself. John 7:17. Note the words, willing to do his will. More than completing your education or getting married or getting your house paid off or anything else in life, you must want to do God's will. Chuck Swindoll writes, there have been times when I said I wanted to do his will, but I really didn't. That's a tough thing to confess. But looking back with 20/20 hindsight, I realized that at times I actually resisted his will. And I've learned that serious consequences follow selfish resistance. Paul writes, telling believers to do the will of God from your heart. Serve wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord, not men, because you know that the Lord will reward everyone for whatever good he does. Ephesians 6:6. Note the phrase there about doing the will of God from your heart, because you want to, because you desire to. It's about as deep as it gets. More than pleasing people, more than acquiring creature comforts and status, more than staying safe, your single greatest desire should be to please God. The psalmist prayed in Psalm 40, verse 8, I desire to do your will, my God. Your law is written within my heart. And I encourage you, friend, that your prayer today should be, in all I do this day, Lord, my desire is to please you and do your will. And that's our good word for the day. And that's going to wrap it for this Wednesday, the 13th day of September, 2017. If you haven't taken the free trial, go to apply.cfrn.net. If you need a second chance, shoot us an email, support@cfrn.net, or call 949-423-6464. Again, thanks for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.